these drivers are as crazy as I am. So here we go. Drivers, start your engine.
You're listening to The Logan and Cody Show.
And we are back with another edition of The Logan and Cody Show. We are your hosts, Logan and Cody. Logan, how's it going?
I'm doing all right, man. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, especially after the reception that episode 1 got. We really need to talk about, we got some special guests today, but we really need to get in how successful episode 1 was. I think going over some of the stats here, we got 3 million views, over 3 million views on the first episode on YouTube alone. The other platforms it was uploaded to did amazing. So we asked our new intern, which they gave us due to the success of the show, and he went over the thousands of YouTube comments we received, and he picked out the 5 best ones. And I'm going to go ahead and read them here on the show real quick, starting with Monotone Mumbles. He says, first. Russ Martin says, enjoyed it. Michael Lawrence, this is the best, worst show on YouTube. 0.5 out of 10 would recommend. It's a really nice comment. Chris Wheeler, great job, guys. Top notch. And finally, Mike Rentz had very low expectations for this, but really enjoyed it. iOS ... come for the racing, stay for the content. Well, we really appreciate those awesome comments. Keep them coming. First off, we're going to bring in Michael Provolt. Michael, how you doing tonight?
Hey, good evening. Thank you for having me on the Logan and Cody Show.
And second off, we're going to bring in a man who needs no introduction, one of my favorite people in all the world, the one, the only, Brian Knuutti. How you doing, bud?
Hey there, hi there, ho there. I'm so happy to be on the Logan and Cody Show for the very first time.
Awesome. Well, hey, we really appreciate you guys taking time out of your days to come in and kick it with us. We're going to get started. We're going to roll right into it with Arca Rookie Series. I didn't watch this race. Logan, I think you did, right?
Yes, I did watch it, and I think Brian actually watched it too, because I seen him in the Facebook chat. Is that true, Brian?
Yeah. I caught just the end of it, just to see what was going on. It seemed like it was a pretty good finish actually at the end, and then the Ringer won it.
Yeah, David Wright coming off winning 2 in a row, so good for him. And we had
he runs Cup, by the way.
Yeah, it's true, he does. But even a good run for Colton Kinsey, though. He came second, and it was a close finish right to the finish line there.
And that's your protege,
yeah,
right?
Awesome job for Colton. Yeah, well, I mean, he definitely comes up with the group that I'm actually going to meet him actually for the very first time this weekend out at Sonoma.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Hey, so you're going to Sonoma?
Yeah. So we're gonna watch the race. We got Junior coming down, Brett coming down, Cheeseburger coming down, Colton and Cheeseburger's son.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm kind of jealous. I live about 2,000 miles away from you.
Hey, Brian, weren't you just at Charlotte Motor Speedway?
No, I was at Sonoma racing there. Well, a couple weeks ago, I was out at Laguna Seca. My dad works for a race team, and they need help every so often whenever they're out at multiple different tracks trying to take care of cars. So they usually just ask me, go out in there and help them, and make a couple extra bucks and get to watch some cool cars, go to cool tracks.
Wait, hold on, slow down. Your dad works for a racing team?
Yes, my dad. Yeah, my dad works for Joe Car Racing.
Oh, that's awesome.
He's their mechanic and fabricator.
So it's a job he's actually getting paid for, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I grew up around racing my whole life.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, you've completely stolen this interview. We're supposed to be talking about the iRacing Rookie Series, but that's really cool, man. like I said, I think Dave Wright won it, right? The ringer. And Colton Kinsey came in second, gave him a good run. Any big caution things happen?
There was lots of cautions, which is typical, and I think there was about 17 cars on the field. That was about it. Nothing else really stood out, to be honest with you.
And that leads us to the iOS Arca Pro series. I'm sorry, they have Rookie and Pro. It's brutal. I did not watch this race either, and I didn't participate in it, but I'm sure, Logan, you have the rundown?
Yeah, I do have the rundown, and so does Mike. Mike was in there. The race it's a fun track, actually. It's the first time I've been at North Wilkesboro. I had a lot of fun, but unfortunately, we were wrecking all the time. There was definitely one incident I remember with Mike Provolt and Dustin Dean, which Mike could probably discuss a little bit better than I could.
Yeah, so I was coming off of turn 4. I forget where in the race we were, but I got loose, pedaled it a little bit. But if you play it in slow motion, you just see Dustin Dean come up, and it's like, even if I didn't pedal it and start getting a little loose, I think he still would have came up into me. So I gotta defend myself a little bit right there. Regardless, I'm sorry for what happened to Dustin Dean. He was able to get back going, but I guess he still wanted to take it out on me a little later in the race. So I think it all worked out.
There was retaliation?
Yeah, under caution a little later, I think the next caution we came to, he came around and dumped me. I didn't appreciate that. He was pretty soft about it. Appreciate that. But I was about to go take my fast repair, so I, kind of gave him the business and went and took my fast repair. Not usually how I handle business. I'm usually a very passive, clean racer, but in that instance, I don't take no S word.
You know what the worst part of that is? Is that, so it looked like you got loose coming off of turn 4, you hit him, he wrecks, whatever. The funny part is that Dustin Dean actually caused 2 wrecks himself and got parked. So he can't be mad at you for getting loose and getting into him when he causes 2 wrecks himself.
Yeah, I think his performance really spoke for himself, and especially in the next coming race the next day, I think that he showed his true colors. I mean, I respect him. I treat him no differently than anybody else, but just you gotta keep it cool.
So just to quickly recap, you got into Dustin, and Dustin retaliated, but this was not the race that the infamous Dustin expungement happened. Correct?
That comes up later. Yeah. This was just Arca the next day. I don't know what. He had some choice words for a couple people, but he races how he races, and I race how I race. And sometimes we get along, sometimes we don't. I usually never have a problem with Dustin Dean. That's just personally. Other people, everyone's got their own thing going on, and so I'll treat him the same way he treats me. That's totally fine.
I mean, absolutely. I've never had a problem with you on the track. I usually can't see or hear you because you have connectivity issues. But
that was only last week.
Were there any interesting aspects about the finish of that race?
From that point on, I just tried to keep it clean, and then once we got to the end, we were on our 3rd green, white checkered, and so I got going up on the high side, and I look in my mirror. I forget who exactly it was, but I thought we were about to go 3 wide, so I just pedaled it to make sure we kept it clean because it was the last restart. And I guess somehow I got into, I forgot who I got into, but there was a scuffle, and I ended up taking out my team. Well, we don't have teammates in Arca Pro, but I ended up getting into Brandon White, and I apologized for that right away. And I guess I ended up clipping Bobby Mays. I thought I was clear. I thought it was just either just net code because I thought I was good to feed in behind him. You'd have to watch it and pull it up to see what I'm talking about because it was all very, very tight. But, there was a sense of urgency at the end, and I think it was important that, we at least got around to finish the race. But unfortunately, I got the short end of the stick and ended up with an EOL at the end. 19th place. Almost got second. Almost made it.
Did you realize the games the Maze boys were playing up front there?
All I saw was Bobby. I didn't see the other guys. I'm not sure if all 3 of them raced or if it was just Bobby or Todd, but I didn't see the games they were playing. I know that everyone's out for themselves, especially in that sense. So I just tried to keep my all 4 wheels on the ground, not end up on my lid, and finish the race, but just not where I wanted to.
Yeah, I'm just referring to the restart. So I was 3rd, and you had, I think it was Bobby and Kyle were the ones that were 1 and 2. I always get the Maze boys confused. And what they did was the leader would actually take the high line, and then the car on the inside would let the leader in. And it kind of surprised me that they even did it on the green-white checkers. Like, you usually think like the last restart, you kind of go for yourself, but they were actually still teaming up and doing it. So when I was a third place car, I was kind of frustrated being back there in that position.
I mean, you got to work together when you can, but you also have to do it clean. But I do kind of forget that because unfortunately I had clipped Bobby Mays and knocked out Brandon. I was immediately apologetic and kind of felt bad. So.
Oh, for sure. If that was me and Brian, we would have been checkers or records for sure.
Yeah, so ultimately it was Kyle Mays that got the win in that series. Kyle
Mays got him an Arca Pro win, huh?
Yeah.
Next up, I think we're going to talk about the iOS Cup Series. This is a race that I know a little bit about, but it was at the Daytona road course, so there was a lot of drama in this race. Where do you guys want to start?
Right from the start, the standing start.
That's right.
I forgot about that, yeah.
I actually enjoyed it because I was worried about getting pile drived into going into one. But with the standing start, it actually kind of alleviated that, so that was kind of nice.
You know how I feel about that is that we think it's good because it worked out perfectly that time, but the first time that a bunch of guys spin their tires and wreck, then we'll hate it.
That's true.
Yeah, I did not enjoy it. I apparently my standing start practice has not been good, and I got burned. Daniel, I started on the pole, and Daniel was ahead of me in turn one, and I think Brian, you were even on the outside of me.
No, I was a little further back. That was on the restart when I got on the outside of you.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, on the initial start, I was able to just get past Colin, who out-qualified me, and then it was just kind of like the four of us just kind of took off between you, Cody, myself, and Brian Dees, and
Daniel Michael.
Michelle. Yeah, Daniel, Michelle, Michael, whatever you call it.
We're just gonna butcher the last name all interview, so we'll just call him Daniel.
Okay, Daniel.
So I think the race started out with me and Daniel battling. We actually got into each other in turn 3, and then I kind of backed off and let those guys go. And where did you end up finishing in the stage, Brian?
In the stage, I ended up finishing 4th. I faded back a little bit. I didn't get any laps on the track just because of my back, and I'm trying to be not in the rig as much as possible just because it hurts my back. Once I'm kind of going around the track during when it's actually going on, it's not that bad. But like once I get out of it, it kind of sucks. But finished 4th in that stage, and I couldn't complain with a 4th place finish with how fast the 3 of you guys were.
So did any of you guys race around Dustin Dean?
Oh, when we were lapping him, yes.
I saw him once.
I think I passed him 2 or 3 times, and every single time it was nerve wracking. But he was well behaved around me. I know that some other people weren't so fortunate. I think there was a point in the race where Daniel was leading or second. Yeah, he was behind you, Brian, at the time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Dustin got into him in turn 3, I think, and he didn't spin him. And this is where me and Daniel are going to have to agree to disagree. I think I would have caught him anyway. Daniel says that completely ruined his race. What do you guys think? I don't know.
You were the car to beat. You were the fastest guy. If I would have had enough fuel, I could have beat you. But I legit had no idea about fuel. I had no idea what was going on. All of a sudden, everybody starts talking about strategy, and then I kind of ran down Daniel, not Michelle. I ran Daniel pretty quickly, and couldn't figure out what he was doing. And then I realized that he was clutching it going into the bus stop. And then I looked down, or my spotter said 5 laps left on fuel, and I was like, oh, there's only 5 laps left in the race. Awesome. And I looked over, and there were 7, and I was like, oh, well, I'm not going to make it. So I just drove as hard as I could, try to make sure I could at least finish in 4th place, and that's what ended up happening.
Yeah, it was wild. I kind of did off strategy, and I didn't take tires at the stage, and then I came back in at lap 17 to take full fuel and tires, and when I came back out, I noticed that I think Daniel was leading at that point, and I was catching him by like 4 or 5 seconds a lap, so he was already saving at that point.
He started saving pretty quickly when he came out of the pits.
Yeah, because I think looking at the broadcast, he went 15 and 15. I think. Yeah.
So I think that race there definitely goes down in history as one of the best races in iOS, simply because it is Dustin Dean's last race that he will probably race ever in iOS.
No comment.
So yeah, so to address the elephant in the room, Dustin Dean, as a result of the Daniel hit, was suspended for the season, correct?
Correct.
Of iOS? Okay.
I don't think he'll be back though.
In all four leagues in iOS.
So he was removed completely from iOS as a whole.
That is
correct.
for
the remainder of the season. And it wasn't just because of the one incident. It was obviously because his whole body of work. And I don't think you're going to have a single person in iOS disagree with the outcome.
No, because we should address that too. That it wasn't just the Daniel hit. He was all over the track all night. He was blowing chicanes. He was arguing that that was completely fine as long as he gives back the time. We won't go into how ridiculous that argument is, but before we leave this, though, I'm looking at the results. Michael Provolt with a 7th place finish on a road course.
Yeah, right at the last second. I think I played my strategy right. There were a couple cars. I think one was Colin Willems and whoever he was battling with. I was in ninth at the time, and I had a couple cool spotters and crew chiefs. I had Brian Merle and Brandon kind of coaching me along because they both had damaged cars, and they're just like, "Go get him, Provolt! You got this!" And I just listened to them. Ended up making the 2 passes for 7th, and I ended up sputtering across the line, like right across the infield. Just out of gas and made it 7th place.
Awesome, man. Well,
That's awesome.
I'm glad we all finished top. Oh wait, no. Which one of us didn't finish top?
I left the race halfway through.
Did you crash?
It was a rough race. I was doing all right. I spun out in the first stage, but I was like 11th, I think, at the end of the stage, and I was running top 10. In the second stage, but then I just overshot turn 1, hit the tire barrier. So I had to tow, and then I came out and I was a lap down, and then I wrecked again, and then I had to tow, and I was hot and sweaty, and my arms were tired, so I just said, this is enough of this, I'm just going to be in the way, and I don't want to be the next Dustin Dean, so I just left.
Yeah, so can I ask a question? What lap did you guys take your tires at your very first set?
At the stage.
At the stage? I took mine lap 20. I stretched them.
Oh no, and you ran a great strategy because that's what got me the win. Is I came back in a lap 17 and took my tires. I didn't take tires at the stage.
Yeah, same here. I don't know if I took them at 17 for the next set or after for the second, but I just followed one lap before what Brandon White did. So I think it kind of paid off.
I'm surprised he was still in the race at that point, but that's another story. On that note, let's talk about the Truck Series race.
Well, before we go into too much detail, I just want to know, Knuutti, when should I get my championship trophy from last year in the trucks?
You are asking the wrong guy. You're going to have to talk to Max McClure for that one.
I thought you were the guy for trucks.
For season 3, yes.
I'm pretty sure you were the guy for season 2.
No, I wasn't.
Okay, well, just we'll let that one go then. But Logan, I don't think you're going to get your trophy before I get my cup trophy, though.
I'm pretty sure I'm not getting it. Not one person has asked me for my address.
All right, well,
Logan, what's the address?
I'm not going to give it on the air either.
Just say it on the air.
I already have too much fan mail coming into the studio all the time.
Does Graham Hagerman open it up for you?
No, I wouldn't do that. They're too old.
Yeah, dude. Like, you don't understand. We got a lot of fan mail. It was the debut was a big success, but I digress. We have to give Stephen Black credit for the win. He was a class of the field. Looks like Hagerman, you came in 4th. Yeah, I remember that. Brian, you had a pretty interesting situation in this race that carried over into the Discord after the race. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Oh, sure. I'd love to. Yeah, just, all race long, Kyle Mays just driving like a dick, throwing, bad blocks, and just, I was constantly having to get out of the gas to miss it. And then on one of those later restarts, I think it was the one after Max blew up his motor and stopped in the middle of 3 and 4. we had to do a restart. He was on older tires along with, believe it, Bobby Mays, and there was a couple guys up towards the front that were on older tires. We went green, and and he's just crowding me going down the backstretch. And at the time when it first happened, I was pissed because I figured it was just him being the way he'd been driving the whole night. But after I've calmed down a little bit, looked at it again, and it definitely looks like I came down a little bit. So the wreck was my fault, but he was still driving like a dick all race. And if he keeps driving like that around me when it's that early in the race, I'm just going to turn him next time. I'm not going to lift.
Wow, shots fired. Now you got to be careful. There's 3 of them.
Well, I have no I've never had any problem with any one of them before. I mean, I get along with Todd. I don't really know Bobby. I have no issue with any of them. It's just Kyle's just driving like a dick, and I'm not gonna let it carry on from here. So hopefully it stops. I'm not gonna drive him. I'm not gonna be a dick to him. I'm gonna drive normal. But if he starts blocking me and throwing those stupid blocks at lap 10, 15, 20 laps into a 100-lap race, I'm just gonna turn him.
Now the thing we really need to talk about during the truck race that was on everyone's mind was the Stephen Black curse. I was running second or third, and I radioed over to Willems and told him it's gonna happen. And sure enough, with what was it, 4 laps to go? I think the caution came out with about 4 laps to go, and that actually put Steven back in position because I think Jackson, Qualley, and Todd Mays were trying to make it on fuel. We all had Isaiah Gill, Stephen Black, and me. We all had tires, and I was being run down by a pack of Intensity Racing guys, and luckily the caution came out and saved me too. Did that caution work in your guys' favor?
No, because I would have passed you if that caution didn't come out.
That's right. It didn't work in your favor. How about you, Brian? Oh, you were already out of the race.
I was already out of the race. I was out of that race after the incident on the backstretch after the restart.
So I want to know, before we move on, when you finish a race that angry, what did you do after the race?
I actually went and grabbed a drink, and then just had a drink, and then I was not gonna do anything, and then I hopped on Discord, and then I said some shit, and then I actually watched the rest of the race on TV. And I just watched the finale just to hope that a certain someone didn't win.
I usually have your back in Discord, and I did have your back until Isaiah Gill basically said it was your fault.
Yeah, Isaiah Gill can suck my butt.
All right. On that note,
famous last words.
Provolt,
no, I'm kidding. I love Isaiah.
I believe he got
11th.
I do not remember. I'd have to pull it up.
It was 11th.
I got 11th?
Yep.
Yeah, that race is kind of a blur. It was a lot of up and down, but I made it through the whole race on the lead lap and stayed out. I kind of forget how the race went down exactly, but I wasn't up there with you guys in the front.
Yeah, all I remember is the finish was bonkers. It was green-white checkered with Steven lining up first. I think Isaiah Gill lined up second. I was third, and coming to the finish, it was pretty tight. I got doored by Isaiah. That's the story I'm going to go with. I got thrown into the wall. I still managed to finish third. Hagerman 1 spot short of the podium, but Stephen Black finally gets that elusive win. That man, I all last season that guy led laps, and did not get a single win. It was brutal.
Dominant.
The truck series, he got a couple wins. It was the Cup series, he was winless. I think he won 2 last year in truck.
Did he?
Yeah, he won one. I think at like Texas. I think he won.
Oh, so Texas? Cup was the curse.
Yes, Cup. Every time there'd be a late race caution, it would screw him.
Yeah, and so we're I guess the curse still hasn't been broken. So normally this is the part of the show that we go on and talk about the iOS Super Speedway Series. Instead, this week we're going to talk about a new series called the Pelicans Snowballs Super Speedway Series. Got it out. I got to say that I was not looking forward to the Super Speedway Series. I enjoy Super Speedway Series racing, but I thought with the group of people that were going to be in it, the racing would be a little slow, caution wise. But I have to say the first 2 races I've done of this series, I've had a blast doing them. Anyone that wants to get into this series, if there's room and you can hold a line, I highly recommend you get in touch with Dillon and join the series because it's a blast. And on that note, I think we're going to say goodbye to our friends Brian and Michael. We appreciate you guys being on the show. It was great hanging out with you.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk to you guys later.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much for having us on.
Thanks,
Thank you.
guys.
And coming up after this commercial, you have Dillon Redding. The Stephen Black podcast. Listen to the soothing sounds of Stephen's monotone voice as he talks about how bad fix setups are in iRacing. It's an ASMR podcast.
Dillon, thanks for being on the show. We appreciate you being on.
Thanks, Cody. Thanks, Logan. I'm here. It's a dream come true. The Logan Cody Show. No better place to be.
Well, we do have almost 3 million views on YouTube at this point, so it's been quite a ride. Yeah, so to get started here, why don't you tell us a little bit about... Yeah, we'll just start at the beginning. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in iRacing?
Yeah, so I am, I guess, what you would call a pandemic iRacer. If you recall, back in 2020, NASCAR shut down and they did the Pro Invitational, and I had just gotten back into NASCAR whenever Ryan Newman had his really bad accident at the Daytona 500 in 2020. And seeing that on the news just kind of sucked me back into NASCAR after I had fallen out of it for a few years. Really, I'm a lifelong NASCAR fan, but I'd sort of lapsed. And so got back into racing. The pandemic hits. Everything gets shut down. I started watching the Pro Invitational, and I'm thinking, what is this? You know, and 6 or 7 weeks later, I talked my wife into letting me invest in a sort of affordable racing rig, and I'm up and running, and I'm off to the races. So it was about maybe the end of April 2020 I got started.
How much money do you have invested in your rig?
So my first wheel was a Thrustmaster T150, and you know, I don't know what anyone else's experience is with a T150, but mine almost immediately broke. So from there, I got my Logitech G29, and I've got the pedals and the clutch. I'm racing on just a single monitor, and I'm racing on a desktop computer that my dad had in a garage. I bought a video card for it and upgraded it. So I'm all in right now for still less than $1,000. So, you know, there's cheaper ways to do it. There's more expensive ways to do it for sure. But right now, I think overall I'm still on more of the budget side of things.
Is the iOS series the first league that you've joined?
Yeah, you know, I have to give a lot of credit to Max McClure because I didn't know that iRacing had leagues. I didn't know that iRacing had hosted races. I was just doing officials, and I was thinking, like, you know, this is kind of fun, but it's kind of the same thing all the time. And I finally realized that there's this button called Hosted Races, and I clicked it, and the whole world opened up. And there happened to be a race that was listed as I can't exactly remember. I think at the time, iRacing Nova Series was just a really small Arca series with maybe 12 or 15 drivers max. And I went into the recruitment race, met Max, met Dean Qualley, Will Witt, Eddie Morris, some of the other sort of original guys, and started racing with them. And at the time, I barely even understood how leagues worked. It's funny to think back that it was only a little over a year ago, but yeah, that's how I got started with iRacing Nova Series. Probably 4 or 5 weeks after I bought iRacing for the first time.
So were you there for the full season for season 1 in the Cup with iOS?
I was a full-time driver in season 1 Cup, and before that we had run a shorter street stock / Arca series, which I don't think they referred to it as season 1, but yes, for season 1 of the Cups I was there, and I was also a full-time driver for season 2 Cup truck and Arca.
Do you recall real quick who won that season 2 Cup championship? I can't.
I think it was some guy that everybody just agreed not to talk about.
Yeah.
So when I joined the iOS guys season 2, you were an admin. To me, you seemed like you were kind of like Max's right-hand man. Is that kind of what your position was for season 2?
So I think that's a fair assessment. What was happening by the time season 2 started was Max owned iRacing Oval Series. Dean Qualley was running Arca. Dustin Dean was in charge of graphic design and marketing. And I was sort of there not to specifically run any series, but to be the person who served as a soundboard, came up with ideas, criticized ideas, fielded questions from people on Discord, which Cody knows a lot about, sort of just handling a lot of the day-to-day stuff. So sure, I think right-hand man is sort of more of an operations guy is the fair way to put it.
So you ran in the Arca, the trucks, and the Cup, I believe, in season 2. And
Yes.
then going into season 3, which just started, we're on week 2, I don't think you ran any of the series. Did you run any of the series last week?
No, I did not participate in anything iRacing Oval Series for season 3.
So why did you drop out of those races?
So, I'm an opinionated person. I'm a passionate person. I also try to treat people fairly as much as I possibly can, although I am human. And some of my relations with some people in iRacing Oval Series was causing me personally some anxiety, and it was pushing me in a direction where I wasn't having fun and I wasn't happy. I had committed to put together a super speedway series for iRacing Oval Series, and I was committed to that. I had worked hard to put the roster together, and I was going to see it through. So I decided I'm going to take a step back. I'm not going to drive in Arca or Cup or Truck. I'm going to focus on my super speedway series and make it the best that I can, and get a little bit of distance from sort of the admin side of things. I stepped away from that, was not involved in those conversations anymore, and so headed into season 3 of iOS. That was sort of where I was. What I was intending was to just focus on my super speedway series and make it as good as I could.
Do you miss racing at all, or are you happy just running your own series now?
I miss it a lot. I watch most of the iOS races, and I always wish I was out there. And I knew that I would. I didn't drop out because I didn't think that I would want to race. I just felt like it would be better for me to take a break, let one of the 15-week seasons pass by, and be ready to come back. More kind of rested mentally and ready to get back to having fun. So that was what I was intending to do.
So last week, or earlier this week, I guess, Max basically said that he was going to take over the iOS Super Speedway Series. So you decided to do your own thing and start your own league with the Pelican Snowball Super Speedway Series. And obviously, people must like what you're doing, because tonight we had 30-something drivers?
Yeah, 34, 36, something like that. It was a good solid field.
Yeah, so that must make you feel good about yourself as a leader and what you've been able to do. I know that I had the choice to race between iOS and the Pelican Snowball Super Speedway Series, and I chose to race with you guys simply because of your leadership skills and the effort that you've been putting into the series. So I really appreciate everything you've done, and I know Cody probably feels the exact same way.
Yeah, 100%, Dillon. We really impressive what you did with that series and put it together in such short time.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that, guys. I wish I could take all the credit, but all I did was put together a Discord and try to get the right people on board, and from there it just grew and grew over the course of the week. And you guys did all the driving, and it was a great race tonight. I'm real happy with it. I think that there's room to grow, things to improve on. But yes, it is the Pelicans Snowballs Super Speedway Series, and we are excited to move forward.
Well, Dillon, we really appreciate you coming on, telling us a little bit about yourself and your racing career, and also the new series. I'm gonna get through it. The Pelicans Snowballs Super Speedway Series.
Yes, work on your S's. That's right.
Like I said, we really appreciate you coming on, telling us about that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Dillon.
And also, don't forget to watch an ESPN 30 for 30 directly following this podcast. From Superstar to Fallen Star, a champion's fall into obscurity.
Back it down. What the fuck was that, dude?